Coming up in episode 82, air date May 25th of 2017.
But to me, a plain notebook with a modified version of the bullet journal is what's working well for me today. Today and currently. One of the things that I track on a regular basis is what I eat and what I consume as far as liquids. And at the end of the day, what I'm seeing is there's often not a single check mark next to water.
No water throughout the whole day?
I drink liquids all day long. All day long.
Except
but
water?
They're not usually water, no.
Wow.
So if I go through and I'm editing the little radio show or I'm listening to the latest episode and I participate in a quote-unquote keep hydrated the little radio show drinking game, maybe I'll actually drink water that day.
I'm gonna get you a sign that says water is life. So every time you look up at it, you're like, God damn it, I gotta go take a drink.
You understand that I know this. I'm
I know.
in my mid-40s. It's not like I don't know that I need to drink water.
Welcome to another episode of The Little Radio Show. My name is Sandra Fernandez, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Juan, Alanis, and Anjelica Cazares, and we're bringing you small talk about big topics. This week, it's all about my vice of choice, coffee, and the fact that I cannot spend a single day without drinking at least one cup. Just a reminder that you can catch us every week on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Central Time on hmsnetradio.org. Our show archives and the link to our iTunes and Stitcher channels are available at thelittleradioshow.com.
And as always, all the inspiration for today's content came in from HispanicHouston.com and JuanOfWords.com. I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to roll out a drinking game of the little radio show drinking game. And the way this would work is every time one of us says, or you know, our listeners get to take a drink.
What are you more most guilty of? You know, or...
But.
No,
actually, based upon the last editing session that I did, it's you know. You know.
There are going to be a lot of drunk listeners out there.
Okay, so in an effort to make it healthier, what I'm suggesting is not that they make the drinking game with alcohol, but they do it with water.
That's not fun.
I did say, okay, it's a little bit fun, but this way they will. I know.
How about we go completely healthy? So every time we say I don't know, or like yours, but like the repetitive. What are they called? What would you call them?
I don't remember.
They're
Okay.
like fillers,
Fillers,
right?
Fillers, right?
Filler
Okay.
words.
All right. So every time we do a filler, they should do like a push-up or like a jumping jack. Make it completely healthy.
I think that if we have any listeners who are listening to this as a podcast when they're driving or that they're exercising or whatever,
So alcohol is actually out of the question unless you're at home.
Alcohol is actually out of the question, but if I put out there and it's the keep hydrated the little radio show drinking game, and it's everybody drinks a sip of water every time one of us says you know, but, or one of those. Yes, like.
Mine.
Then at least I won't feel so bad because at least we're helping them keep hydrated. And one of the things that I realized about this is, there you go. I use the bullet journal as my method of keeping my productivity, and so that means that every day, I do a modified version of the bullet journal. Instead of keeping an agenda, instead of keeping a day planner or Franklin Covey or Levenger's, or these are all methods I've tried and loved previously. I'm not disparaging any of them; they're all wonderful. But to me, a plain notebook with a modified version of the bullet journal is what's working well for me today. Today and currently. One of the things that I track on a regular basis is what I eat and what I consume as far as liquids. And at the end of the day, what I'm seeing is there's often not a single check mark next to water.
No water throughout the whole day?
I drink liquids all day long. All day long.
Except
but
water?
They're not usually water, no.
Wow.
So if I go through and I'm editing the little radio show or I'm listening to the latest episode and I participate in a quote-unquote keep hydrated, the little radio show drinking game, and maybe I'll actually drink water that day.
I'm going to get you a sign that says water is life. So every time you look up at it, you're like, God damn it, I got to go take a drink.
You understand that I know this. I'm in my mid-40s. It's not like I don't know that I need to drink water. It's just not my beverage of preference. So one of the things that I have started to do, other than this fictitious game that I'm proposing now, is that I quote-unquote pay for my next cup of coffee by drinking half a glass of water. You have to understand that on any given day, I drink a minimum of 4 cups of coffee throughout the day.
That's a lot of coffee.
No, it's not.
It is a lot of coffee.
It's no.
Is it like cups of like actual cups, like coffee cups, or you're talking about like cups, like the ones
like
you get?
The regular size cup, right? Or no?
Serving 4 servings of coffee. Because I don't think we could call them regular cups.
Okay.
But if you buy a large cup of coffee at McDonald's, I'm fairly certain that's not a normal cup.
No,
I consider that
that's
to
not
be
normal.
1 cup.
Yeah, okay.
So I have one of the best things I ever did for myself last year, the year before last, something in the last few years was I got one of those lovely, lovely Keurig coffee containers. And I know Juan loves mine because when
I was going to say I've used it.
So when Juan come over, he uses it frequently. And so I make a cup of coffee when I want a cup of coffee, and I never have to worry about the fact that the coffee's been sitting there all day or that I'm going to make an entire pot and only drink 3/4 of it, and et cetera, et cetera. But that also means I never have to worry about waiting for my coffee again. It takes literally about a minute for me to get a cup of coffee.
And it's very good.
And it's hot, and it's exactly what I want. And so I never have to worry about it. I used to, back in the days when I worked in offices with other people who judged me on my coffee consumption. Mind you, it didn't stop me, it just irritated me. And how do you find time to count how many cups of coffee somebody else is drinking?
Oh, wow.
Do you just not have enough work to do? Anyway, so
I notice when people are like have something on their desk. I remember working in the office environment. I could tell, I knew who to go to based on like what I react. Like, for example, if I wanted something sweet, it was going to be Carla that, worked in the history department, 3 desks down or something, because of based like on what she had on her like
but you
desk.
didn't know how much
ate.
Candy she ate.
I did, because it was on her desk and she ate it a lot. Every time you would go talk to her, she was like,
there you go, Sandra.
She would put it, maybe it was just
I couldn't have
conversation
worked with you.
Maybe you drank a lot every time they looked up and they're like, God dang, she drinks a lot of coffee.
So once upon a time, one of my previous jobs, when we changed offices and the new office no longer had a coffee maker, which, by the way, was a catastrophe for me. I bought myself one of those, and I call it construction worker thermoses. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
With it's metal on the outside. It's got the big
It's supposed
thermos.
to keep it warm all day.
It works, by the way. Big thermos. It's got the handle on one side. It looks like you should be carrying enough food in there, like enough.
Looks like you're going off to work on a
like
construction
you're
site.
Gonna go off to work
with your little lunch pail on the other hand.
Yes. So I saw one of those on sale and I bought it, and it contained just under a complete pot of coffee that you could put in there.
Oh wow!
And I would brew a pot every morning and put it in there and close it and take it with me to work. And I had my little condiments at my desk, and I would pour myself coffee all day, and I would take it home at the end of the day.
Did you ever have to
that's
refill
commitment.
it?
Did I ever have to refill it? No. Did I ever empty it? Sure. Frequently. Now, one of the cool things about this was that my last cup at the end of the day was still hot. This thing really, really worked on keeping the coffee hot. I tried smaller thermoses, and I don't know what the issue was, or they were just built differently, or they weren't made as well, or whatever.
No, I don't drink that much coffee. I used to drink it more when I was in office, and now I don't. I hardly drink coffee ever anymore.
But you never drank coffee at home.
I never drank coffee at home, and that's the weird
and
thing.
And now that you're working from home.
Now that I'm working from home, I did the first week or so that I was working from home, I went and bought coffee, and it was like the instant coffee or whatever. But then I just was like, and just like kind of lost the habit of drinking it. And what I do is I normally I'll drink a lot of water, like throughout the day. Like I'll just have like water, and I'll go fill up my cup and then bring it back, and fill up my cup, bring it back, and also I'll drink a lot of water throughout the day.
So I think your habit now to get up is not to go and because you get up a lot from your desk. But I notice is that you get up a lot to go, and I get up from my desk to go munch on little things in here and there. Juan gets up for water, which is what he does. And I've noticed that myself. I was like, he drinks a lot of water.
But for as much coffee as I can consume, I'm not a coffee snob.
But I was going to ask you about the thing. What are those things called where you make your own coffee in a cup, like a glass thing?
It's the French press.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I used to have a French press at my office as well, back when I worked in a place where they had a hot water spigot. And I would make my coffee in there, and it was enough for 2 servings of coffee.
I've never used one, but I've been curious about that.
But I'm going to say 2 servings. The thing with that is that it requires a little bit of patience, because you put the water in there, and then you have to let it sit there for at least a couple of minutes.
Okay.
If I want coffee now. Not 5 minutes from now.
You know,
but I'm not
opposed
to coffee though. I mean, I like coffee, and sometimes I do have coffee. Like if I'm up in the morning, or sometimes I'm like, I'm in the mood for coffee today, and then I'll go get coffee. And sometimes I'll go down to the little taco place down the street, and I'll buy a taco and I'll buy coffee there.
You know what?
So you're not a coffee snob either.
No.
I don't enjoy hot beverages.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know. I was just because even when we buy hot chocolate and stuff, I have to let it cool completely, huh?
What about hot tea?
No, I let it cool completely.
My newest thing that I discovered recently, and I say discovered because everybody else probably has already heard about it. It's a thing called a dirty chai. And what it is a serving of chai. A serving of chai tea with a shot of espresso. Oh, and this stuff is phenomenal.
Are you wired after that?
No, sweetie. Caffeine doesn't wire me.
Oh, but you don't get wired.
I don't get wired. To me, coffee helps keep me solid throughout the day. But see, for lack of a better word, coffee keeps me even keeled. When I go through and I try to stop drinking coffee, it disrupts my sleeping patterns. It disrupts my stress levels.
When you stop drinking coffee?
I've done it before. I've given up coffee for Lent a couple of years. And it was not a pretty sight for anybody involved. And honestly, my staff begged me not to do it again.
But see, for me, when I drink coffee, if I have 1 cup or maybe 2 cups, I'm okay. But if I have more than that and I haven't had a hearty meal, then I start getting I get very antsy, I start getting nervous.
Amateur. But my favorite,
that's my thing. But
my favorite is I love McDonald's coffee. And so going to the drive-thru at McDonald's and getting a large cup of coffee, to me, that is it. Starbucks, I think, is a little too bitter, the coffee. I know other people love it.
Oh, you know what? The other day, and I know you know this restaurant, the Cuban restaurant, that's on...
in Bel Air?
Yeah, in Bel Air.
Yes.
The
café con leche?
Yes, the little café cubano.
Awesome.
Oh, that thing was so good.
Cubano, yes.
Yeah, that was so good. That's what.
The Colombian place that we go to, Mi Tierra, I think is what it's called. Out in...
Mi Pueblito.
Mi Pueblito, there you go. Mi Pueblito, they do the café con leche. And that stuff basically
because it's so small and it's it has such a potent...
It's so good. It's so good. It really is. Yeah. But it's one of those things where we've talked about this previously, scent marketing and how the scent of coffee is the scent marketing and scent are cultural, and different scents have different reactions based upon the culture in which you were raised.
Now, having said that,
for Hispanic audiences, coffee evokes the sense of familiarity, comfort, and family.
Now, now that you say that about the scent. The other day we were at one of the schools. Edgar was taking a test or something, and they were walking the parents over to a area where they had breakfast set up, and we were we were far away from the room where we were coming, and then I told Anjelica, I was like, "Oh, that coffee smells good," And she's like, you can smell it from all the way over here. And I was like, yes, like it travels, it travels and you can smell it. And in the morning, it smells really good.
Nope.
You're not a
Coffee
coffee
is
drinker?
not. Nope. Coffee is not up my alley.
And
none
I
of
still
that.
like you.
Yeah.
But
what we can have a conversation about is the Southern girl and her iced tea.
Oh.
Unsweet iced tea.
But see, then,
I can tell the difference. I based on what I want, how I want it. Like Whataburger has like the best iced tea if it's watered down. So you add a lot of ice and very little tea, and you let it water it down. And of course, McDonald's is just watered completely, and you're like, oh my god.
But isn't Southern
Chick-fil-A
tea? But isn't
has
Southern tea supposed to be
phenomenal.
sweet?
Now they're half and
Yeah.
half. It's pretty good.
Okay. When I used to live in Georgia, and you ask for iced tea, unless you state otherwise, it's gonna come sweet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just like that.
It's gonna come sweet.
I like
first
the way
of
you
all.
said that with
It's
an
gonna
accent.
come sweet. Yeah. Yeah.
It's gonna come sweet. When I moved to Texas, finding sweet tea
It's hard.
took pretty much an act of God. When you mean sweet tea, it's all unsweetened, and we're like, okay. And then
You sweeten it yourself, yeah.
places didn't know how to make tea. It was this bitter, icky, dishwater looking stuff. And
Yeah.
no. I'd rather have regular water. Thank you very much. Or you get them to give you regular water and put a packet of Sweet and Low in there, and there you go. But when I used to live in Atlanta, yeah, it was sweet tea, and you could get sweet tea throughout the year. It didn't matter if it was cold outside or not, because they will serve you hot coffee any time of the year. My sister visited, I want to say Boston, and it was a month in which it was cold. She was trying to get iced tea, and they looked at her like she was insane. Why would you want iced tea? It's cold outside. She's like, you serve coffee during the summer. I don't
Why would you not?
understand.
Yeah.
She's like, it's not like we're sitting outside. It's in the inside.
But when did you start drinking coffee? Because
not until I was older. Actually, not until I started working in offices.
Oh, really? Because when you said that about family, like that it evokes us for family and like things of being together, whatever. I started drinking coffee when I was young, because I remember and I didn't really drink it regularly, but I remember that I would somebody would be drinking coffee and then I would get a sip, and I noticed that my nephews, my nieces, and Edgar, they also do that, where they Edgar's always, when I have a cup of coffee, he's like, let me have some.
Yeah.
He wants to have coffee. And he's always wanted to do that since he was probably 10 or 11. And before I would be like, no, it's too strong for you. But now I'm like, he's old enough. I'm like, here, you want some coffee?
I remember when I was 15, 16, 17 years old and going to preparatoria, going to the high school, and it was 2 towns over.
Mm-hmm.
And we would all of my friends would all pick up coffee at the bus station, heading towards school, and they'd all walk with their coffee. I did not enjoy back then the taste of coffee. I was the one who had the hot chocolate.
Oh, wow. That's hard to believe.
Now, my sister-in-law keeps saying how our taste buds change every 7 years. And even if you've tried something once before, you should taste it again, because maybe now you like it.
Is that true?
That's what she says. I don't know. I've never looked this up.
Huh.
But I can tell you that I did not used to enjoy the flavor of coffee. And I started drinking it when I started working in offices because they kept the offices so cold. Now I can't imagine going a day without my cup of coffee. There are other foods that I didn't used to like that I like now.
Menudo.
Really?
I didn't like menudo as a kid. Growing up, bless you. I didn't like menudo growing up as a kid. I would see it and I'd be like, oh, that's disgusting. That's gross. I'd try to put it in my mouth and it was wobbly and I was like, oh. But now, I enjoy it.
For me, oysters are one of those foods that I didn't used to like. I tried them. I didn't enjoy them at all. And now, I'm not going to say they're one of my favorite foods, but they're a food that I enjoy pretty frequently. Brussels sprouts were one of those things where I really didn't like the flavor. I thought they were too bitter. And now I really do enjoy the flavor. That kind of stuff. But coffee, again, is one of those things where I do remember my grandma with her instant coffee. My dad used to drink his coffee every morning. My mom would prepare it for everyone. They would make it in basically just this little pot. Not even a kettle, just a pot.
A clay pot?
Yeah,
over fire.
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
With cinnamon.
And chocolate.
Now, yes. Every once in a while, if we really want to make flavorful normal coffee, what we'll do is we'll we'll cut up a stick of cinnamon and put it in with the coffee grounds when you make the coffee, and that actually provides you that café de olla flavor with a little bit of brown sugar to go with it. But I don't drink water, unfortunately, as often as I should. What I'm trying to do now is go through a thing where, like, I don't allow myself a cup of coffee until I've quote unquote paid for it by drinking half a glass of water. And let me tell you, I drink that water.
That balance is off. So how big are your cups of water and your cups of coffee, Sandra?
I don't have to justify myself to you. I didn't say it made sense. What I'm saying is I realize I have a problem.
But the other thing is, like, I was at the health museum the other day, and we were looking, and I was talking to somebody that brought up something, that pointed out a picture to me, because, like, they have pictures there of, like, the different people, how they eat around the world. And she pointed it out to me. She was like, look, the Mexico picture, they have so much Coke. And I was like, and I didn't even notice, because it's so, like, I guess it's so natural.
Yes.
Like, it's part of the culture. I was like, because in Mexico you eat every meal with Coke.
I do remember that. I do remember even when I was about 7 years old, my mom would send me off to the corner store to buy a liter of Coke to have with dinner. And I remember that I remember that would be a constant. I remember it was $1 back then. And she would send me off. Yeah, she would. Oye, Anjelica, vas por la coca. And I'm like, okay. And I'd be off. Here I go, like running down the street, running back. And she would always yell at me.
With that sugar cane sugar.
Yeah. She would always tell me, don't shake the Coke. Because it was like 2 blocks away. And being a little girl, you're like just swinging things around. But that's,
But when we moved in the U.S. too, like, I remember we did for a while, we always had Coke too when our meals. Like, every time we went to the grocery store, we bought Cokes. And I think that was just a thing that it was just a habit.
I have to say that was a bad habit to break. Yeah. And even now, we still have, like, sugar. We don't bring sugar drinks into the house at all.
Okay.
Like at our house.
At our house. Just us, yeah. Drinks. We try not to. So even those sweetened, like the Tropicana drinks, like all that's way too sweet.
Okay.
And I noticed that when we do drink it.
Poor kid.
Yeah. When we do drink it now, Juan, a boy, and I will be like we'll start sucking our mouth because it's way too sweet for us. But what do you think? Like that Coke? Like, why do you think that Coke was introduced? Is it just something like mass produced in Mexico, and that's just kind of how it happened?
I don't know. I know.
Are we addicted to, like, caffeine the way because coffee is a regular in Mexican homes, right?
But I'm going to have to look this up. I read somewhere, or I think I remember somewhere, where the average annual consumption of coffee for a Mexican is less than for an American, because there's a group of Americans that consume so much through Starbucks and this other stuff that it actually skews the numbers. But I don't quote me on that. I don't know for sure.
I believe that because there's a Starbucks at every corner, basically.
No, but here's the thing.
Houston, where it's not uncommon to see a Starbucks across the street from another Starbucks.
Yeah.
No, it's not uncommon. But what I notice is that we drink even our caffeine. You drink it alone, but you, Juan, you do it socially. Like when you're around your family and you're around your friends, you'll have a cup of coffee. And I think that goes back to the Coke. It's usually, you kind of don't have I remember at my house, we didn't have a glass of Coke, just to have one. We had it with dinner when we would sit down and all eat.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So maybe that's probably is true, because it's a social thing. It's not so much like I'm running around with my Starbucks.
Well, nutritionists will tell you that one of the biggest contributors to the obesity issue is the fact that as a culture, we have moved away from low calorie, no calorie drinks like water and coffee to frappuccinos and protein water and maybe not protein water, frappuccinos and sports drinks and all of these sugar laden, calorie rich kind of things. And when you're consuming an extra 400 to 600 calories per day, there is an extra 1 to 2 pounds a week that you're gaining.
But see, the thing with Mexico is, like, if you did, like, at least where we were from, like, you drank the Coke, but you were walking everywhere. So you had to, like, you were doing
I'll walk anywhere here.
You were doing physical exercise constantly. And I think that was the difference when we brought it over and we were doing it here, is that we were sedentary. So it wasn't like we weren't walking as much as we were over there. And so we started packing the pounds.
Packing the pounds.
And then eventually it was like the doctor told my mom, like, you need to cut off the Coke because you have diabetes. And then we all got cut off.
Mom can't have it. You got it.
Yeah, that reminds me when I was a kid and all of us thought we didn't like spinach because my mom didn't like spinach, so we never had it at the house. And we all grew up thinking we didn't like spinach when the reality is we just never ate it. Because, you know, when your mom who cooks all your meals doesn't like a certain dish, you never get to eat it.
Yeah.
Right.
No, there's, you were going back to what your sister-in-law said. I do remember there was a time where I hated cauliflower. I hated spinach. And now I can't get used to, I didn't intake a lot of carrots. I don't like it. I like it cooked. I don't like it boiled. So I'm getting very specific, but I think I'm introducing like those vegetables. I think my body's just calling for it at this point.
I think your 7 years are coming up.
My 7 years are coming up.
Oh, okay. So maybe what we need is not just the little radio show drinking game, but the little radio show get up and walk around game. So every time you listen to the little radio show, if you can just on a piece of paper mark down every and and then go out and actually walk for those amounts of minutes, maybe that'll help out.
Wait, that's not fair because my is actually a thought process. Because
I don't know, but that's the problem. Actually, one of the things that I have a friend who went through the speech.
What are they called? We gone to it, Juan.
Where they do like
Toastmasters.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if that counts as a or an They do, and they actually. One of the problems that we have is those verbal cues, those verbal fillers, are because we're trying to process or we're trying to think of what we're going to say next, and instead of just remaining silent, we fill it with nonsense.
And when you remain silent, it sounds so much better.
Yes, it does. But it requires training.
I'd rather hear a person pause for a second than hear go on for a couple of sentences and not make much sense. You know what I mean? Yes. I'd prefer a pause. I'd prefer a wait. Well,
But I think they say like one of the biggest things is like the one of the biggest fears for people is silence. Like they
really
dead air.
Like dead air. Like they don't know what to like they feel uncomfortable when you're like if you're talking to somebody. And then you stop talking, and then nobody says anything. Then the tendency is to like try to fill the space by saying something.
We don't have a problem with staying silent.
We talking about that. I've heard that conversation before in the past that you don't have to fill up the void of the space of the silence. That dead air is okay. That means people are having their thoughts without having to speak. So I'm totally okay with like.
I'm not going to reward you for our silences, but I will reward you or let you reward yourself for every time you hear us do a filler, and there you go.
And today's episode includes a small clip, an outtake from a previous episode where we discussed priorities and productivity. Enjoy.
Have you ever been in one of those leadership thingies where they do the thing with the rocks of different sizes? And so
I don't think I've experienced that.
All right. So there are two explanations for this, and let me tell you how the exercise goes. They take a glass container, and then first they fill in with big rocks.
Okay.
And they go, okay. So these are the important things. So you fill it up and, I don't have room for other stuff. Then they take little rocks and they start putting it in and they shake it and they're like, see, there's always room for more. And then they take sand and they put it in and they fill it up until it's completely full and there's your day. So the two ways I've seen this is one, what are you always have room for more stuff in your day. That's the one. But the other one is if you fill it with the sand first, which is the stuff that's not important, the big rocks don't fit. So you've got to put the big rocks in first.
And then the little pebbles.
And then the sand, which are the not quite important stuff. And then the really not important stuff gets filled in last. And sometimes I go in and I do it in the exactly wrong order.
You put a bunch of sand and then little rocks.
It's reactive. Okay. And I go through the day, and I'll be honest that I'm as guilty of this as the next person, is that the fire that's in front of me gets put out.
Yeah.
And so it's like the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Well, sometimes the squeaky wheel is not the thing that's going to help you make your goal.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of The Little Radio Show. We invite you to check out our iTunes and our Stitcher channels and leave us a rating or a review. You can find the link to both channels at thelittleradioshow.com.